Alright, hello, I'm back. Coming to you today from what feels like the first day of actual summer this year, even though it's, well, actually second day of actual summer this year, even though it's April. Like forecast to be like 25 degrees today, which is mega. So I decided to finally wear my new set of leathers, get them a bit bedded in, and take you guys out for a little ride. It's gonna be nothing super spectacular. All of the big passes are still shut, you know. There's still snow up there. It is only April. But, you know, hopefully we'll get to see some fun roads. Hopefully they won't be too dirty, you know, and it's kind of the time where farmers plow their fields and all that, so it tends to be a lot of crap on the roads, quite literally. But, you know, don't have to go mental, especially because my rear tire is basically gone. It's almost like within half a millimeter of the sort of little limit indicator in terms of tread. So I'm not going to be doing anything nuts anyway. Yeah, maybe quick update since the last video. I tried to film some, but honestly, like, the weather was just not great, and I had a tire service, like to get new tires, booked at the end of April, so I didn't want to ride too much anyway, to, you know, like preserve tires for a couple of things that I had booked in, specifically a safety training. So I think I mentioned this last time. I've been on a safety training just yesterday, actually, so the other nice day of the year so far. Got really lucky with that, because I was meant to go after work. So they do this, it's the TCS, the sort of car and, well, motorist club, I suppose, in Switzerland. They do all sorts of stuff like yeah, like trainings and, I don't know, other motoring related events. So I figured it's the start of the year, it might be good to do just like a basic safety training, so it was less of a sort of like extreme, like, oh, let's ensure that you can corner at speed, or, you know, like really hard braking on track, and more of a just basic, you know, like, let's do some figure eights, let's drive through some cones, and then do some like emergency braking, but in a, you know, emergency scenario, not like brake as hard as you can, but just to, like, try to react as fast as you can to someone waving a flag or doing a hand sign to indicate, you know, emergency. Then let the ABS do its thing, but without panicking, to just be used to how the bike feels under ABS. And honestly, wow, I was not expecting it to be this useful, especially, like, I deliberately booked that one and not the sort of cornering one, and I wanted to do one which was more about just revisiting the basics, kind of like as if you do your like had a lesson with an instructor when you do your license. And that was really, really good. Like, the amount of confidence I've gained just being able to turn the bike around on the road, you know, low speed turning with the handlebars at full lock, doing figure eights and emergency braking, and, like, at least in sport mode, I'm not too worried about the bike flipping, but you can kind of feel when the rear wheel comes up a little bit. Just, you know, some basics that you should know, but that you don't really practice out on the open road all that often. Because I mean, how often are you doing a figure eight? Yeah, but it's really useful. Like, I mean, for example, I started off, we did these like just, you know, drive through some cones, and the cones get perpetually shorter spaced, you know, and the learning there was basically that, like, if you get in, like if you start the slalom at the speed that you could take the first few cones, you'll have to brake throughout the exercise, and it will, you know, like ruin your concentration. You won't be able to do the rest as well. And it was less about, you know, try to do these cones as best as possible, and more about, here's some interesting learnings to show you by having you experience them yourself. And I think that for me was the biggest takeaway from the entire day. Like, on that note, I thoroughly recommend that full day thing from the TCS if you're in Switzerland. Really chill, like it's nothing outrageous, it's just really just some basics, you know, just drive through some cones, do some figure eights, do some emergency braking, but with someone there that can give you feedback and that tells you what you're doing wrong, you know. Like, I did emergency braking, and, you know, brakes were fine, distance was fine, but I was looking down on the road in front of me instead of looking, you know, at the horizon and checking what the rest of my surroundings are doing. Just these little things, you know, that having someone watch you do these exercises and give you feedback immediately. Like, the progression, if I'd done this myself, would have probably taken me weeks of lots of individual days where I practice this stuff by myself and try and get better over time. And there it took about an hour, because you do it 4 or 5 times, and every time someone tells you, no, you know, here you could improve this, and this is how you can do it better. Yeah, really, really good. The instructors were really fun. They had a really nice mindset about, you know, you don't have to do every exercise. If you don't feel comfortable with something, don't do it. Like this, it's meant to be for your benefit, not for like impressing anyone. So for example, they did most of the figure eight stuff on like these gravel roads, because no, I kid you not, I think we were 16 people, there were 12 GSs. Yeah, so obviously it was kind of geared a little bit towards your average Swiss GS driver who's in his 60s. But yeah, quite funny. So I didn't do any of the gravelly stuff. I don't feel comfortable on gravel. I don't really intend to drive on gravel. I've been through it before, and I know I'm fine in terms of going out on a straight gravel road if I really need to. But I don't really need to be able to do figure eights on gravel, so I didn't. I did them on a normal piece of tarmac, but at an incline, which was, you know, he said, you know, like the tarmac figure eight is arguably even more difficult because of this incline, or at least, you know, a similar difficulty. So, you know, it's not like I lost some bit of experience. It was just a different experience, and that was really nice. And yeah, so we started, maybe give you a rundown of the day, started with a little bit of like an introduction. We did, he asked if any of us wanted to do a theory test, like a really basic one, like was it 20 questions or something, which we did, and I would have failed because there were a couple of right-of-way questions which didn't have an obvious answer, right? Like, so like 4-way right-of-way road, and 4 cars, you know, who has the right of way? And technically, like, no one really does. You kind of have to, you know, signal and someone will take the right of way. But the answer was basically that, like, because it's from your perspective, the only correct sequence, or the only thing that you can do, is to yield your right of way, right? to the person to the left of you, so that kind of resolves that thing. And then we went outside and did some basic slaloms, pylons, shenanigans. Nothing outrageous, but yeah, again, that was kind of cool, because initially I would do half the slalom. Like I would have to like adjust halfway through. I don't know, couldn't finish it. Because it was quite, one was uphill, the other one was downhill, and I really struggled with the uphill one, because I just realized that how bad I am with the clutch basically on this thing, because I rarely ever use it, right? Like this, it's called the quick shifter and stuff, so I don't really use the clutch all that often. Yeah, the uphill one, because you had to kind of stay on the gas and clutch, was kind of tricky. But the downhill one, you know, I was just like, I pulled the clutch in and let the rear brake do the stabilizing and all that. So for me, that was relatively straightforward, even though I still didn't manage to complete it the first few times. They left the cones out for the rest of the day, so it was like on this little area, and you kind of ended up driving in circles all day around this sort of like little track that they pulled out, and they left the cones up. And by the end of the day, I was just doing it for fun, like the full thing, and like, you know, proper slow speed, body position forward, get some bend in your arms, and then actually really work the handlebar, you know, actually put it left to right into full lock at really low speeds, and I was like completely comfortable with it. Like, it's nuts. I didn't think I would make that much progress this quickly when I was struggling so much at the start, you know. And then we did some emergency braking stuff, and also actually an exercise in evading. And it was quite funny, like he told us during that exercise, you know, like try to do I'll drop my arm and you have to go left if I drop my arm on the left side, and right if I drop it on the right side, that kind of thing. And he told us to increase our speed by like 5 kph from one go to the next. What he didn't tell us was that he was also signaling which side to evade on later at the later attempts, and that meant you thought, oh, it's the speed, I can't make the evasive maneuver because of the speed anymore. But what was the real learning, again by like failing yourself and then him telling you, actually that's what I did, was that, you know, like 10 meters less in terms of reaction time, even at like 30 kph, means you just do not have the distance and the time to react in time. Like your reaction time is just slow enough that by the time you've made a decision, oh, I need to evade to the right or something because there's an obstacle there out of nowhere, it's gone. You have crashed into it. And the learning there basically was that we did an emergency braking in a similar kind of scenario, and we, like most of us, managed to stop in time. Yeah. So basically, like, even if you could have evaded, you could also still brake in time, and you can still evade afterwards, right? So basically, brake first, evade if you can, kind of thing. It's a much more safe strategy to just slam on the brakes. These days, like, everything has ABS, right? If you have an older bike, not quite the same necessarily. But with anything that's got ABS, just hit the brakes, man. Yeah. So that was that day. I guess what I learned personally is that it just takes one day of practice to really get back into being able to do this like low speed stuff, because you don't really ever, I don't know, personally I rarely ever do like full lock turns or something, especially because I wasn't very good at them, because I didn't do them very well. It's like a vicious cycle, right? and it just takes like, or in fact it was actually less than that, so like even half a day. If you just did like figure eights for half a day at the start of the season, spend the time, especially ideally with someone to watch you and tell you if you're doing it wrong. Maybe just a mate, or do one of those courses once, take a note of the learnings, and see if you can then remember that the next time you do it by yourself. I don't know, it made a massive difference in my low speed confidence on the bike. I'm much less worried about, you know, like stuff tipping around, like, or me not being able to catch it if it's sort of, if I do have to drop my foot because I'm getting too unstable. And yeah, I'm like not afraid of the steering lock anymore, if that makes sense. So that was super nice. And then like the way they taught certain concepts was also super good, like by actually showing you the effect of like how long it takes for you to actually recognize a dangerous situation, and how fast you can actually brake if you have to in an emergency situation. Yeah, really good. Do very much recommend doing one of those safety trainings with the TCS if you're in Switzerland. But yeah, so much about that bike course. Honestly, if you get the chance to just do something that simple near you, highly recommend it. It's there was one guy there that came like every year for the last 5 years, because he said like, I could, as much as I could practice this myself, doing this with like an instructor makes a massive difference. Ah, sweet, clear road. Tires at pressure, let's go. As I feared, a little bit of stuff on the road. But it's not too bad. Ah, it's been too long. Oh man, honestly, the traction control has its work cut out for it if you give it some in first gear. Holy shit. It's nice to have a reference point. I was way too far over. Alright, I'm gonna stop this for a second and then come back in a bit.